And Mr. Mayor?
We'll now open
Leo
public
needs to be able to
discussion for the closed session. Seeing none, we will close public discussion and move into the closed session.
I think Tom wanted to tell you something.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
Mr.
Tom?
Mayor. Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if you would just note for the record that between those appearing via Zoom and those there in person, the council does have a quorum.
Yeah, so via Zoom and those that are attending here in actual session, we do have a quorum, so.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess we'll see you guys when we get back. Are we just gonna hold close session?
Wait, are we gonna do it here or?
We're gonna stay here.
Yeah.
Because it's too jammed.
No, I know.
Yeah. All right, so Kevin, is this you?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
YouTube live now.
Let me choose that now.
I'm sorry, you're gonna need to repeat that. Your microphone's on. Oh, sorry. We'll have the city attorney's office do a readout of the closed session. Katie, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. At this time, there's no reportable action.
Okay, perfect. So before we begin, thank you to everybody on the internet who is tuning in. So we are 6 feet apart. So we have strategically placed everybody just kind of sporadically around the room to make sure that we are staying safe and sane from this virus. If you would like to send in a question to the city council, you can send it into the city clerk at cityofripon.org. I can't promise that we will get your questions in time in order to be able to read them during the council meeting, but we will make sure somebody from the city reaches out to you to answer your question. So with that, we will open up with the invocation. Dan? Oh, sorry, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Dan?
Yes.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You pray with me? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for our community and those who continue to lead it well. We pray that you would bless the decisions tonight that are made here tonight, and protect those who continue to be in harm's way as they fight the virus outbreak that's going on in our country. May you continue to bless Ripon as you have, and may we come back to a sense of normalcy as quickly as possible. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Lisa, will you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Leo Zuber,
Here.
Mike Verstucha,
Present.
Dean Euchre, Vice Mayor Daniel DeGraff,
Here.
Mayor Jake Parks.
Present. All right, we will now move to the public discussion. So as we did not receive any comments or items not on the public discussion, we will go ahead and close the public discussion.
No comments were received via email either, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So all of the votes taken today will be voice votes, so no need to worry about clicking in and using the screen or Leo for you to use any of the apps that we have. So do we have a approval of the minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
How are you doing, folks?
Wait, oh, my apologies. I'm already getting ahead of myself, so.
Good thing we don't have to log in our votes. I'm not sure we'll be able to do it right.
So,
I will proceed with the roll call vote. When I say your name, please signify your vote. Councilmember Zuber,
Yes.
Councilmember Verstucha,
Yes.
Councilmember Euchre,
Aye.
Vice Mayor DeGraff,
Yes.
Mayor Parks.
yes.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
You're not the ground.
We now move on to the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have anything that they want to pull?
I have one item. 1.4B is in boy.
1.4B. Okay. All right, so then do we have approval of the agenda as amended?
I'll make a motion, we approve as amended.
We have a motion and we have a second.
Please signify your vote by saying aye after I call your name. Councilmember Zuber,
Yes.
Councilmember Verstucha,
Yes.
Councilmember Euchre,
Aye.
Vice Mayor DeGraff,
Yes.
Mayor Parks.
Aye.
1.4B.
Moving on to consent.
Questions?
So now we're moving on to the consent calendar. So do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar as amended?
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion, we have a second, so
Roll call vote. Councilmember Zuber.
Yes.
Councilmember Rasusha.
Yes.
Councilmember Euchre. Vice Mayor DeGraff.
Yes.
Mayor Parks.
Aye. Motion carries. Councilman Zuber.
My question, where are we on this project? It seems like it's been going on forever.
Sir, so where we currently stand, we have met with Caltrans a number of times. We've submitted an encroachment permit application that was returned once with comments and some items they've requested. What's before you tonight is the final item of what they have requested. And it is our hope and our sincere belief, based on the meetings that we've had with them, that once we provide them with this documentation, we'll be able to submit an updated or revised application that we see no reason why they won't immediately approve.
And how many of the license plate readers are affected by this?
Currently, there's 4 that are awaiting this approval before they can be installed.
And then once they're in, we're done.
Correct.
Okay.
Can I so I have a question. So these are the poles that have withstood earthquakes, winds, all kinds of disasters, but putting a license plate reader on there, we want to make sure it doesn't fall over. Am I correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
The one thing I would also add to this is we did contract with a electrical consultant a couple months ago, if you recall, and they did a very good job to put together a plan of how to get power to these units. They had to be a separate power source. So that was something new, it's something we did not anticipate in this process, but we did get confirmation from the district director that at least the idea of doing this and getting power there on the certain poles was acceptable. Obviously now that we know the poles, we need to move forward with the analysis that's in front of you tonight. But the one part of this is we at some point are going to have to hire a contractor to come out and pull wire through there, install the necessary pedestals and electrical equipment so that the city of Ripon is actually the one providing power to these cameras. So when we bring that back next time, with hopefully after our encroachment permit is approved and all the entities that go in, or all the costs that go into that, we'll bring back a big picture too. How much more cost? We allocated $300,000 towards this project. I think we're about $260,000 into it right now, but it really remains to be seen how much work is it going to be on the electrical side to get power here.
Can I ask a question about that? Because I thought that would be the case, but isn't solar kind of a good thing today? I mean, it's not like it used to be years ago.
It's an option we're exploring. There is a company that has, they put together a solution that's supposed to provide power. Our concern is the reliability of that. In the evening hours, when we're not generating from solar, we don't want to lose those things at 3 in the morning when we could be most dependent
So
on
you'd have to have a battery backup and all the other stuff. Got it. Thank you.
I think, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are going to be the first city in District 10 to have gotten through this process, which obviously has not been an easy process. This has happened in other districts, and really the only reason we're at the point we're at right now is the district director has been very helpful guiding us through the different roadblocks that have happened over time. I think he's sat in just about every meeting, if not every meeting, that we've had with Caltrans, which is unusual in itself. So it has taken a little bit longer, but the process is quite a bit of speed bumps, maybe, I would say, along the way.
So at this point, it's probable, I'll use that word, that we'll be able to get this done within the budget that we allocated initially.
I think it's going to be close. I think the only part of this I'm not real sure about is the electrical to pull all those wires. I just don't have a good sense of how much money that is.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve the item.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Councilmember Zuber.
Yes.
Councilmember Rasusha.
Yes.
Councilmember Euchre.
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeGraff.
Yes.
Mayor Parks.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
I'm sorry. All right, moving on. 3A, ordinance, second reading and adoption.
2A.
2A.
Did I get ahead of myself? 2A, my apologies. 2A. 2A.
Can I just make one comment before we move on? It's really unfortunate that we can't present that proclamation during the Saturday. It's been presented every single year. Leo did it one year, I did it one year, we've all done it. It's really a shame, but we'll get it to them. But I just think that's the way it is right now.
It is, and it's such a great and worthy cause to make sure that it is at the forefront of people's minds, and it's too bad. So hopefully we'll be able to get him back in here to actually present it properly. So 2A, Mr. Warner, is this you? Not a problem.
So obviously, the state has issued a stay-at-home order related to the COVID situation. That happened on March 19th. On March 21st, the county issued their own stay-at-home order that was later updated March 26th, if I remember correctly. With that, there's very specific order requirements that us as the city have been working to make sure everyone in our community is aware of. And obviously, our role in this has been with the police department. In most cases so far, it's just been educating different businesses, the different residents of the order and what that means in their own daily lives. Obviously, there is an enforcement aspect to this if it gets to that point, but we've been very fortunate in Ripon that it hasn't. The city council actually passed a resolution prior to the stay-at-home order from the governor that listed some of the changes to our own programs and to our operations. At that time, when the city council approved that resolution, all of those were to end the end of March, if I remember correctly. So what this resolution does, it takes all those programs and it continues those same operational program changes that was initially included and just has them extending until further notice. So we would bring back a resolution at such time, either the governor, which at this point I would assume is the state who's going to release the stay-at-home order. Whenever that does happen, we would bring back a resolution to the council that amends this for whatever rules are in place at that time.
So we could also, when that time comes, we could call a special session to order, correct, to end it. We don't necessarily have to wait till the second Tuesday of each month. Okay.
With that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I know Lisa did.
So do we want to go ahead and do the comment first, and then the council can make suggestions or questions, anything?
Up to you.
Okay. All right. So a member of the community did come forward and does have some comments regarding this particular issue. And I apologize if I'm getting your name wrong, but it's Adam Corkins. I'll go ahead and read his comments into the record, and then so we'll make sure that they're put in there.
I'm also happy.
Oh, you want to read? Okay, perfect. That works for me too.
As Mayor said, Mr. Adam Corkins, Ripon resident, made a comment through the email that says, "Honorable City Council members, I respectfully request the City Council to oppose the San Joaquin County Health Order dated March 26, 2020, and any other health orders to the extent the orders force quarantine or isolation of persons without evidence of a quarantinable communicable disease or known exposure to a communicable disease. The state's police power includes quarantine and isolation. Neither of those terms should apply where there is no evidence of exposure to a contagious disease. The CDC, legal authorities for isolation and quarantine, defines isolation and quarantine. Isolation separates sick people people from a quarantinable, communicable disease from people who are not sick. Quarantine separates and restricts the movement of people who were exposed to a contagious disease to see if they become sick. Every public official in California promises first to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and not the health and safety codes. Amendment 14 of the U.S. Constitution asserts, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. We can work together to contain COVID-19 while also respecting the civil rights of residents for whom no evidence of a quarantinable, communicable disease or known exposure to a communicable disease has been provided by the health officer. Please protect our civil rights and oppose the overly broad nature of the order. Sincerely, Adam Corkins.
Perfect, thank you. I will turn it over to the council for any comments. Councilman Zuber? Councilman Zuber? Okay, good. I want to make sure I didn't miss it. Councilmember Stuccia.
So I have several questions. One would be is I understand what Adam is saying entirely, but I think, you know, we got a big issue we need to address. The question I have is, what if we don't adopt this? And we just don't, I mean, we're doing it, but what if we don't adopt it? What does that do? I mean,
Probably not a whole bunch. I think most of these operational changes and changes that we initially started with are very consistent with the stay-at-home order from the county and from the state. So, you know, I think this is mostly getting us in line as far as the dates are concerned, because we had a previous action, but I think it's very much in line with the other orders.
So two more comments. One is, if you've watched the governor of this state, I think he has handled this thing much better than I thought he would have. I mean, I think he's done a really good job. I get probably 30 emails every day about what he's doing, how he's doing it, the current budget. You know, he's really, I think he's grown in the last month and the 40 years he's been in public office. And you take a look at what some other governors have done in some other states, disasters. So I'm not so much concerned about what we're doing here other than trying to protect the public. What I do have a question about, though, is they're asking us locally to make sure that these things are enforced. And my question is are we going to get reimbursed? Is there some sort of reimbursement or anything that we get if we have to comply with some of these, or have our city comply with some of these orders?
We are putting in every week, staff keeps a log of all the time that we're putting into COVID related issues. I'm not sure enforcement, how much of that is on here, but I know Chief and myself and a number of us spend a lot of time in meetings and dealing with COVID specific items. And then we are giving every week, we're giving Lisa the summary of the actions that we've had and the time associated with that, and submitting it for reimbursement.
Good. Okay, thanks. That's all I have.
Councilmember Stuccia, we are keeping track of incidents that we respond to either for calls, complaints, or violations of the health order, or anything related to the COVID-19 virus.
Okay, I mean, this is a national thing, it's a state thing, it's a county thing. I think we all need to do it as a team, but if we can get reimbursed, I appreciate that. Thanks.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second.
Roll call vote, Councilmember Zuber.
Yes.
Councilmember Stuccia.
Yes.
Councilmember Euchre.
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeGraff.
Yes.
Mayor Parts.
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
This is 5-0. We can now move on to 3A. Second reading and adoption. Mr. Warner, is this you again?
Is this one we can just waive the second reading and adopt the ordinance?
Yes.
That's my motion.
Second.
Okay, so we got a motion and we got a second.
Can't go fast enough.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Zuber.
Yes.
Councilmember Restusha.
Yes.
Councilmember Euchre.
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeGraff. Mayor Jake Parks.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. All right, 3B, second reading and adoption. We have another one.
To waive the second reading and adopt the ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second.
Councilmember Zuber.
Yes.
Councilmember Restusha.
Yes.
Councilmember Euchre. Vice Mayor DeGraff.
Yes.
Mayor Parks.
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
3C, this is a first reading and introduction. Mr. Warner. Oh, this is Ms. Rose.
This is a first reading of an ordinance, section 3.20 of the municipal code that deals with the purchasing system. This was something that within the, I apologize, I'm trying to get to my pages.
That's fine.
This is something that is required due to the resolution that we passed back in October of 2019 to participate in what's called CUPCA. And so there are certain benefits that are in the staff report that tell us about this. And then there will also be a procurement policy that will be brought back. And this ordinance also refers to that. That will be brought back to the city council for approval via resolution in May. So within the packet, there is a red line version of the original ordinance to what it is now. And since that time, I did send out, and I had at your placement, a couple changes. We would look to eliminate the entire section 3.20040 regarding exemptions from the centralized purchasing. And then also in section 3.20080 regarding the bid opening and contract awarding, we had erroneously written that the city administrator was authorized to award all bids, and that's going to be changed to say the city council. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, unless Liz would like to add anything that I missed.
I'll move to waive the first reading and adopt the ordinance.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and we have a second.
Mr. Restusha, did you second that?
Yes, I did.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Zuber.
Yes.
Councilmember Restusha.
Yes.
Councilmember Euchre. Yes. Vice Mayor DeGraff.
Yes.
Mayor Parks.
Yes.
5-0.
Discussion items for capital improvement program.
Hi, thank you, Honorable City Council. I wanted to present, have a PowerPoint presentation about the capital improvement program, which we bring every year. And it's just a 5-year look ahead. We use it as a planning tool as part of the budgeting process.
Leo, see that? Excuse me, just quick, could you see that, Leo?
Nope.
Okay. Dan's working on it. Can you see it now? Okay. Just scroll up on screen. It's a touch screen. I'm kidding.
Okay.
Wipe it off.
So as I was saying, it's a planning tool that we use for the budgeting process, and it changes every year, just a little. And we select projects based on certain criteria that are listed here, which is really providing vital services to the community, such as water and wastewater, implementing the city's general plan and master plans, the existing traffic patterns and associated improvements needed, the direction of City Council, and also available funding. So here's a list of the 2019-20 project summary that we've completed, and it's about $4.9 million worth of projects. And some of these projects were a continuation of last year. The first 5 projects are completed, and the last one, Miss Lynn Indoor Parking Lot, will be completed in June. Here's just a picture of those projects that we've completed this year. Mulholland Parkview Safe Routes to School, the Doak Boulevard Shared Use Path, and River Road widening. You can ask me questions at any time. So just a summary of my last presentation about the pavement management plan. Here are the major takeaways, which are the majority in the streets and roads budget are applied to preventative maintenance activities rather than reconstruction projects. Projects are determined based on funding source restrictions, treatment method, proximity to other streets, maintaining and improving the PCI rating to 70 or better, and installation of pavers when possible to reduce deterioration of roadways. For the mayor's request, I've included the 2016 survey results just to compare with the 2020, which are here. And one of the major differences is just the Mulholland, California project. And the red and orange here are the poor and very poor streets that we're going to be focusing the majority of our funding on over the next 5 years in maintenance projects in those areas. So here's just a comparison of the survey results. And as you see, the PCI rating is stayed the same. And that's mainly because, you know, as we did the Mulholland, California project that brought that area from poor to very good, a 70 rating, which is the lower end of very good. And then a lot of our excellent streets are paved streets with the concrete pavers, and those aren't really deteriorating very quickly. So those are maintained at that excellent area. So here's a table, a street repair cost. It has the 2016 values and 2020 values for if we were to repair streets and asphalt compared to pavers. And this is just a broad overview. Not all streets fall into, you know, very poor or poor. It's just a general overview. So the top table shows the cost of asphalt repairs, and the bottom table shows repairs. And the paver repairs don't include the cost to replace curb gutter or any underground utilities, which would obviously may need to be addressed at that time. In the past, we focused our street and roads funding on maintenance and roads, which have been in the fair and good categories, and they don't degrade to a condition that requires extensive reconstruction. Unfortunately, this approach doesn't really address the roads that require reconstruction, which in the past have been roads categorized as poor and very poor. One of the largest changes that has been made into the city's approach to street and roads funding is finding treatment methods suitable for roads in the worst condition, typically the poor category. In the past, we've designated these roads for reconstruction. And as you see, let me see if I could. So here in 2016, we have a full asphalt reconstruct, and over here I'm saying there's going to be an asphalt overlay or a 3-layer instead of that full asphalt reconstruct because of the new treatment methods that we found to be working. So a few years ago, we performed our first test with the treatment system termed the 3-layer system on a road that was very poor category, which is Burkport, and it proved to be successful. And so continuing with that and utilizing that 3-layer system in some of the poor roads throughout town. Yes?
I remember that for court. That was the most terrible street or court How does it look now? I haven't been over there in a couple of years. It still looks good.
It's pretty good condition still. In my previous presentation, yeah, it gave some pictures and it's still held up fairly well. We're still gonna get a few more years of use out of that street without needing to do a seal over it. So, yeah.
The only thing I was gonna mention, if you recall, that was a time when we had a contractor who came in and said, I want to show you guys a 3-layer system. Give me your worst road. And we said, do Fur Court as a road that we had slated for reconstruction. You know, we weren't going to touch the road because it was just really dirt in a lot of the areas up there. So we said, try it. You know, it can't be worse than what it is now. And he actually donated, he paid for, you know, all of his costs. He didn't charge us anything for his costs. We just paid some of his subcontractor costs just to try it out, kind of take it for a test run. And you're right, it's performed very well. And that really is why we're starting to talk about this change of, you know, instead of looking at the poor category as far as just reconstruction, there's other options now that we found to be successful.
Wasn't back then like the new technology and kind of the new thing that he wanted to test at some place, and we were kind of the test case, and it ended up working out well, so.
Yeah, that's exactly the case. And so before, I think I heard a comment from council about the red roads didn't seem like they were getting any better. And it's because we weren't focusing on our money there. We were trying to keep our fair and good roads in fair or good without them needing to go to a full reconstruct. Now that we've tested this 3-layer out and we found that it's successful, we're going to be using that more on those poor condition roads. And so we're able to save money in a sense and not having to do reconstruction on those roads.
Well, I have one comment. I don't want to throw cold water, but I'm going to. Fur Court looks 100% better than parts of Mulholland, California. And Fur Court's what, 3 years old? And Mulholland, California was just done last year. And there's already cracks coming back. So
unfortunately,
I've got some other comments. I'm a little bit leery of some of the transferring of methods that we're using.
Well, it could be just shoddy work too.
so
Materials.
I would like to say the 3-layer system does not give you a new road. It tries to prolong the road that's already there. So the thermal cracking that's already existing will show through, will come back up. It will not give you a brand new road.
I live on that road, I'm complaining.
I understand, but I'm just saying. I think part of the problem with Mulholland and California, those roads is the way they were built initially.
Yeah.
And you're covering up something that was substandard already.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And you know, for Mulholland, it went, like Elizabeth said, it went from a poor, whatever that category, the index is, it went up to a 70 now. So it's definitely not up at 100 like a brand new road. It's now categorized as a 70.
Right.
So my concern is
You're
that
right.
it's going to deteriorate back down to something less faster than Fur Court will.
Right, and you know, we need to continue evaluating which streets are going to be good candidates. If there's base failure, those are not good candidates for the 3-layer system. So some streets in that poor category are good candidates and some aren't.
So it's case by case.
Right.
Does traffic have something to do with it?
Yes. The 3-layer system is a little softer than an asphalt.
Just the people that are driving on that road that are tearing it up.
So Mulholland gets involved with
Oh,
traffic.
people running stop sign in front of my house.
Well,
I would say heavy semi-traffic. Those are the types of streets you wouldn't want to do the 3-layer with.
like red pickup trucks or blue
Like the
pickup
River
trucks?
Road, yeah.
You know, and was a challenge with those cracks that we've all seen on Mulholland is we've talked to a lot of contractors about how to fix them. And really the option to fix those is to dig out the road, put a good base layer of rock, and then put the asphalt on top of it. That's what we did for that one section, not intentionally, accidentally, because we didn't realize it was only an inch or inch and a half of asphalt on the road. But you know, that's what we have out there, and the way to fix it is to put a good section of the base rock and the asphalt, which is obviously.
Where you did that on that one block of Azalea,
Right.
it's holding up a whole lot better than some of the other sections.
But that was completely rebuilt.
That was,
though,
that was a complete reconstruction.
No, the part on Mulholland was the rebuild.
Which, I'm sorry.
That one block, I think it's Azalea, the one that goes over to Mill Joe on the other side of the
Yeah, that's Azalea.
yeah. They went in there and dug those things out and put patch in there and then put the seal over it. Because you were gonna do 3 different things.
Yes, yes.
That one seems to be holding up, I mean, I walk out there all the time, that part seems to be holding up a lot better than the part from Azalea, south down Mulholland? Where all you did was cover up what was there already.
So James just informed me, for that project over on Azalea, we did major dig outs in that area to fix those problems before they did the 3-layer system.
So, and I think as these future projects, that's kind of why we did some different areas and tried different things with the cracks. As we do these other projects, we could implement those type of measures to deal with the cracks too in the future.
Technology change over time and all kinds of things, I guess,
So here's just an overview of what's presented in the report of different project areas. Right now, we're planning to incorporate the River Road and the Ripon area into one project for this next fiscal year. This is just a breakdown. It shows the operating revenue, which we get from the highway user tax account, the local transportation fund, Measure K local streets, and SB1 tax, and then the operating expenses, which are the street and roads maintenance, landscape maintenance, administration, and engineering. And we should have about, over the next 5 years, 3.7 million in addition to the balance that's already in the account for streets and roads. This is just an overview of the street and roads maintenance that Public Works has done. The majority of them are pothole repairs, and which are the yellow pins there, and there are multiple potholes in each of those locations, and then all the signage that they've repaired or replaced.
Those just where stop signs are, or there's some sort of repairs there?
They replace the signs.
Okay.
So just to give you an overview of the street and roads projects that we're going to be doing this coming fiscal year is Stockton Avenue Rehab. This is a major reconstruction project. We're redoing all of the underground storm drain, water, sewer, industrial sewer. We're installing 6-foot sidewalks on each side. It'll be 1 lane in each direction and a middle left turn lane. And also, it's done in concrete pavers from 2nd to Doak Street. And the majority, well, this has multiple sources of funding, RSTP, Measure K, water, sewer, and street and roads funding sources. Here's another smaller project. It's the East Main Street handicap ramp adjacent to the new Starbucks over there. And we just plan on doing a handicap ramp and restriping a crosswalk into that location. The River Road overlay and Ripon resurfacing project, like I mentioned, for River Road, we're doing an overlay, so that's going to be from River Road all the way to the roundabout, excluding the section that was included in the River Road widening project. The Ripon resurface project will receive the 3-layer with some dig out areas. And we're not planning on bidding that until after Stockton Avenue. So here's just a projection for the population for the next 5 years. And in 2024, we project to be at that 19,000 amount with a 3% growth. This is how we determine our future water supply and sewer treatment needs. So this is a water monthly maximum daily demand graph. It leads us to our current state of our water supply and what our wells are able to produce, and the yearly demand, which is what our customers are actually using. It's important to track yearly to determine when new wells will be needed and to ensure we could always meet demand. The chart you see shows our total well capacity in 2019, which is a solid straight red line at 10 million gallons a day. This is the total water we could produce. It also shows our firm capacity, which is the total supply that our largest producing well is if the largest producing well is inoperable, which is a dashed straight line, and that's at 7.1 million gallons a day. The light gray line at the bottom shows the demand over the previous 3 years, and this represents the single highest day of water consumption for each month. We then project out what the water consumption will look like in 2024, which is the solid blue line at the 3% max growth rate. You could see that the projected line could potentially reach 8.7 million gallons a day, which is well above our firm capacity, clearly indicating the need for an additional well. We estimate the total capacity after the installation of well 19 at 11.5 million gallons a day and a firm capacity of 8.6 million gallons a day. And well 19 is a project we plan on doing this year.
I have a question. So I'm confused. The total well capacity in 2019 was 10 million gallons a day? The solid red line?
No, the gray line.
So what's the solid red line?
You're right. That's our total well capacity.
Yeah, if all the wells were
Right
going
now,
at
our
max,
total well
yeah,
It's the solid red line.
is 10 million gallons.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Mike,
If
you're
you
right.
take out the largest one, we're down to 8
And it's
million.
the dashed red line.
Oh, it's not the firm capacity with
No.
largest well out shows, points
Oh,
to the 8.
It's supposed to point at that,
Okay, thank
that
you.
dotted red line.
So our largest is 3 million gallons a day.
2.9.
What's that?
Yeah, very close to that.
Okay.
This also doesn't take into account our storage that we have with our tanks. Just another, we have 4 additional gallons with our tanks. Most of the time, those are at 3/4 to 100% full. But it's not something we factor in.
So they both do get filled up at night?
Yeah, they get filled up. It's all based on pressure.
Right.
But we generally keep that anywhere between 75% to 100% full. Just one additional.
Right. But it pumps at nighttime, right?
It'll pump during the day, it'll pump at night. It really depends on what the demand is coming out of the system and what wells are on at the time.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, this next slide shows the current state of our wastewater treatment facility and the influent flow entering the plant. It's important to track the annually to help plan for future projects and expand our capacity as flow increases. The chart here shows the actual flows over the past 3 years along with the projected flows based on our 3% max growth. You could see that the flows have been very flat over the last 3 or 4 years, which is mainly due to the conservation efforts imposed by the city over that period of time. Many cities are experiencing the same. The continuous dashed red line is what we are currently allowed to dispose of per our existing permit with the state, 1.8 million gallons a day. The limiting factor for our city is our treatment capacity, which is represented by the blue bars. Our current treatment capacity sits at 1.5 million gallons a day. It is estimated that the flow will be at 83% of our treatment capacity in the year 2024. This is right about the time we should start planning for the treatment expansion.
Elizabeth, I got a question for you. So when we look at this particular graph, right now we're sitting at 1.5 million. That's our, that's the current max that we could do, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so then what would it take for us to go up to the max permit capacity? Would we have to add another facility? Does our existing facilities, because I'm looking at this graph and it doesn't look like they can handle anything more than 1.5, but you're saying our permit allows us to go up to a little past 1.75.
Right. Want to answer that?
Yeah, so, we have to go back to our 2015 study that we did, if biologic treatment is from what I recall, that would be able to get us up to that 1.8. And the dollar range in that, I want to say 5 to 6 at the 5 to 6 million, 2015 on, but we can get you those exact numbers later.
Okay, that's fine.
And then what we'll start planning for as we get closer to that 2024.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Does Gaines have a microphone? Because I can't hear anything he's saying.
No.
He basically said it'll be about $5 to $6 million to get up to that capacity, and he'll get more accurate figures for us as far as what that entails.
Thank you.
So here we have the proposed capital improvement projects that are planned over the next 5 years. This is more of a condensed scale of Table 4, which was included in the report. It includes 19 projects that are estimated at $34.7 million. There's currently $8.9 million in grants and outside funding and $7.7 million in local funds. Some of these projects are not fully funded, and they're shown in purple, and that blue color there is partially funded. And staff will continue to seek outside funding for them. Downtown streets and projects that we've been evaluating the downtown area are not included in here, but it's something we do plan to present to council in the future. Here's just a summary of the projects for this coming year. Sorry, didn't update that date there. But the remainder of projects, in addition to the streets and roads, would be this transportation project of Colleen and Hoff. We're adding the traffic signal. And we have $400,000 from CMAQ grant funding. Well, 19 pump station, we're also planning on doing this year. That's an estimated cost of $1 million. We're currently in the design phase, but this project's also scheduled to be completed. And the CNG truck 2020 is a garbage truck that will be a new CNG garbage truck to replace one of our old gas. Are there any questions?
No, nice presentation, thanks.
All right.
I don't have any questions, but I have a concern, and it has to do with streets and roads. The one chart that you have that shows street repair costs. My concern is the very poor roads. We're not doing anything about it. And I realize they're expensive, but if you look at your chart, in 2016, there were 5.4 miles of very poor roads. 4 years later, there's still 5.01 of those roads left. And looking at the next 5 years, there's still going to be 5 miles left because we're not doing anything to any of those roads. And we need to. I realize that we need to preserve and keep roads from getting worse, but the people who live on those very poor roads need some attention too. If you take the 9.7 million and divide it by the 5, that's what, $2 million a mile? So it's expensive. But we need to start, if nothing else, setting some money aside for those so that I don't care if it's 5 or 6 years before we can do one, but at least we need to start doing something because it's been over 10 and nothing's been done up till now. There's Kevin, you and I have talked about a couple of these. They're ridiculous. And the only way you're going to fix them is to tear them up and put them back.
You're exactly right. And the council did establish a policy, I think, as we started these discussions a few years ago, and have been putting money into a reserve account. So 33% of every year's general fund surplus has been put into this account. I think at this point, the account has just under $2 million, maybe 1.8, $1.9 million. But that is money that is at the council's discretion to go out and, the intent always was to do a project on the very poor list. So, you know,
The money we put aside out of the surplus, that's not figured into the street and road money that you're using to do all this other stuff.
it's not. The intent of that was to be directed by council to address exactly what you're talking about. The worst roads in Ripon, the really expensive roads, we would dedicate that money to those roads.
Well, for me, I'd like to see a plan developed.
How much would it
What they
cost?
are, how long they are, the estimated costs, so that whether any of us are still here or not, that there's something moving forward out there so that we can start looking people in the eye and saying, you're not gonna live on that goat trail for the next 25 years.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I just wanted to add, so some of because we've experimented with this 3-layer system, there are select of those streets that we're gonna be doing projects on, and one is that Ripon area over here, that we're gonna be doing projects on, and then in a couple more years after that, it's this stuff below Second Street that we're going to be tackling, and then the year after that would be this area right here.
I can't see where you're
Oh,
going.
so it would be, so it would be the blue is the Ripon area. The red would be in a couple more years after that. And that green area would be in that 2024 fiscal year. So
Leah, the area directly, I believe it's directly below Area 5. That's what you're talking about right there?
Area 5, yes, so
Yeah.
area 2, 3, well, all of these areas that are highlighted, we plan to do within the next 5 years. So some of those areas do include, you know, these streets. Obviously, the major streets that are not included would be this Jacktone Santos area at the top there, that we would need to either use surplus or some outside funding for.
Yeah, that's there.
That's fine. Like I say, from all the red areas, because I took the survey map and then I looked at the map that you're working on, that, you know, that showed your plans for this coming year.
Mm-hmm.
Only one of the red areas is even touched. Now, maybe you plan on doing some more. I would just like to know what that plan is. Because some of those roads, you're not gonna be able to put that slurry seal over.
No.
You're gonna have to
Right.
tear them up.
Right.
And we've got $2 million that would basically do a mile of road. We need to start thinking about when we're gonna do that.
We could provide in the pavement management plan a little bit more of a detailed breakdown of the very poor roads and just list, you know, the roads, the treatment method that's being proposed, and the cost with each of those treatment methods, and at least start putting some more detail into that. We certainly could do that. And, you know, at least give council something to look at. You know, when you look at the $2 million of where are the priorities in those roads, I think that would help also, and maybe that could, that table kind of help through some of that discussion of how you want to prioritize some of that. Because you're right, you got $9 million in need and $2 million today, and, you know, the money comes slow. So, you know, where are the priorities in there? And even those priorities, sorry, Mike, but even those priorities, I think will help staff understand where we should be going out and looking for outside funding sources like we've done with Stockton Avenue. I mean, Stockton Avenue is going to be a over $4 million project, but very little impact to our street and road fund.
Well, the other thing that would be helpful for me is I can't tell. We have $2 million, $1 million a mile. I don't know how many miles the red is.
Yeah.
I can't tell by that. How much would be?
According to her table, it's 5 miles.
Yes, it's 5 miles.
You assume that it takes $2 million to do a mile.
I understand that. What I mean is each piece of that, I don't know. I mean, maybe you can't do every single red road,
And we'll do that.
but you can do a section of the reds.
Yeah, we'll add it
I
to
agree,
it.
Mike. There needs to be more upfront.
Yeah.
Yes,
We can include that information in the table.
it should be helpful for me.
Yeah, good point.
The other comment I would make is in the report, there's table 3, which talks about all the alleys.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the other one.
And it's 7.3 million to do them in pavers, and it's 6.8 to do them in asphalt. As far as I'm concerned, for $500,000 and 20 alleys, we shouldn't even be thinking about blacktop. I mean, I like the fact that we have pavers. I don't mind the fact that they cost more. The price is coming down, but I don't want somebody in my position 15 years from now talking about the same problem when there is a relatively cost-effective solution to that problem.
Well, over time, the pavers are cheaper anyway, right? I mean, you've kind of proven
Right.
that, so I agree with that.
Well, you know, from a total present worth standpoint, they're fairly close, but what we're talking about, the issue of revenue to deal with street and roads, it's a challenge. Every city goes through this, so.
Sure.
So what you get by doing this, the total present worth over 40 years may be pretty close, but the benefit is you pay the money one time up front with the pavers, and you don't have to worry. But now you can take the limited money you have and go focus on the asphalt streets and
Yeah.
maintain those.
Well, that's right.
The ongoing, yep.
I'm done.
Any other questions?
No, I think that was a good discussion.
Yes, I very much appreciate the presentation. It was very well done.
Thank you.
All right. Perfect. All right. Moving on. Department heads. We'll start with Mr. Peace, you're way down there at the end.
I can't share mics.
Yes, real quick, just, Mr. Mayor, our March water usage was 23% below our baseline in 2013. And our running 12-month average is at 22.5%.
Chief?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Honorable City Council, I just want to give a quick update on occurrences within the communities, especially crime. For year-to-date, starting January 1st through this morning, we have a 28% reduction in Part 1 crimes. And just a reminder, Part 1 crimes are in the category of homicide, rape, robbery, aggravated and simple assaults, burglary, larceny, stolen vehicles, and arson. And we have a 31% reduction in total crime being reported, which would encompass everything else outside of those 7 categories. And just for an update, during the stay-at-home order and the pandemic, we're actually down 61% in Part 1 crimes being reported from March 19th through this morning, largely due to the reduction of larcenies and thefts and simple assaults. And then in the same time frame, reduction in crime reports would be a 55% reduction. So I just want to give that as kind of a state of our city crime-wise. If they weren't responding to stay-at-home order violations, I would agree with you.
Well, we need one less councilman, so Dean?
I'll volunteer.
Ms. Quillisi?
Nothing further to report.
Mr. Warner?
Nothing to report.
City Attorney, Ms. Lucchese?
Yes, I just wanted to give you all a quick update on prosecution of illegal dumping cases. I know that's been an effort that the council's wanted to pursue in the past, so quick update. Since last summer, we started prosecuting last June. We've prosecuted 5 misdemeanor charges, which are all closed and pending payment on a few of them. We've closed 17 infraction charges. There's 1 infraction complaint that the court is still pursuing payment of, and we have 2 pending infraction cases that were scheduled for a court hearing in April and May, but due to the coronavirus, those will be rescheduled. And then we currently have 4 notice of violations outstanding that if those aren't paid by their 30-day date, we will file and pursue those in the San Joaquin Superior Court for infractions. But most initial notice of violations have been paid or payment plans set up, so that's been an effective method to pursue. And that's a brief summary on those. If anyone has questions, I'm happy to provide more information.
I have one. It has to do with the notice of violations. I'm not sure I understand the numbers. It says that there are 4 outstanding. But the first paragraph talks about the first notices sent had 5 of 6. Is that in addition, are those 5 or 6 covered up under infractions and misdemeanors, or are they in addition to infractions and misdemeanors?
So 5 of the 6 paid once after we had sent the initial notice. So they were done, we didn't ever have to file in court. One of them that did not pay was filed as an infraction, and that is the $1,365 that's still owed to the court. So the court is pursuing that through its own collection process at this point. The other 4, we give them a 30-day period in order to pay before anything's filed. So those other 4 are still in that 30-day period.
Well, if I have the numbers right, since you started this, we've dealt with 35 people over there.
That's correct.
Thank you for the effort.
All right, so we will go, okay, so we will, Councilman Zuber,
I'm finished.
you're finished? Yeah, do you have any other comments? We'll start off with you.
No, I'm done.
You're done? Okay, Councilman Restusha?
Couple things. First, if you don't know, this week is Dispatcher Appreciation Week, and they're the first line of defense. I know our cops carry the guns, but they're the first one. They're the traffic controllers. They're sending you out there, so it's hard work. And so I just want to say shout out to our team, but all the first dispatchers in the county. Also, I'd like to, I hate this thinking, but Chief and Kevin and Chief Bidders and staff, everybody's worked extremely hard on this COVID-19. This has not been easy. I mean, so just thank you guys. It's over and beyond, and I know you guys are handling it extremely well. And I think the whole county's doing a really good job, from what I can tell. The last thing is, I think that, I'm not suggesting anything, but at some point we're gonna have to start thinking about when we start opening things up. And it's not just based on what the governor says and what Dr. Park says. And what I mean by that, and I'm not saying to do it, our recycling center was not part of the golf course shutdowns and all these other things. They were not part of it. I agree we need to shut down. I'm just thinking about when will we know? I'm not saying I know or you know now, but we need to think about when do we know that may be okay to think about letting people go out there. You know, I know the cans have to be separated. Maybe the cans don't get opened up. Maybe the paper can be opened up, and I don't know what the answer is, but I just think we need to start thinking about some of these. Because I've been asked, and I'm just saying I think it's time to start thinking about it. Maybe it's not for a long time. Maybe it isn't. But I don't know the answer. I'm just bringing that up. That's it. Thank you.
Councilman Euchre?
Nothing to report.
Another report. Vice Mayor DeGraff?
Well, of course. I mean, there's no one here, but Dan, do we know how many are live streaming right now?
I can get you that number.
Minus Lisa and Kevin?
Minus those 2, it looks like 9.
Nice, okay, so
we
thank
built up.
you to the 9 folks who are out there listening and anybody else that's with them. Yeah, and again, to reiterate Mike's point, thank you to all the staff who've been working through some crazy times, and everybody for doing their part throughout the community. Hopefully we'll get back to normal here pretty soon, so that's it.
Yeah, and I'd just like to build off of what Mike said. I mean, the big thing for me going forward is, starting to put together a plan of getting back to normal, that we can't, stay in this state perpetually. And so what does that look like? What can we do in the interim if we notice that things are starting to dissipate, and, what options do we have at our disposal? That would be, my one comment, so. And then with that, we will go ahead and close the Ripon City Council meeting. And we will open the Ripon Redevelopment Successor Agency. Lisa?
Director Leo Zuber,
Here.
Mike Restusha,
Present.
Gene Euchre, Vice Chairman Daniel DeGraff,
Here.
Chairman Jake Parks.
Here. So, do we have any public discussion?
There are no comments on this item.
Okay, so seeing that the public has not commented on this item, we will go ahead and close public discussion, and we will move to approval of the minutes.
So move.
So we've got a mover, and then who was the second? Daniel was the second, so we've got two.
I'll take a roll call vote. Please signify your vote when I say your name. Director Zuber?
Yes.
Director Restusha?
Yes.
Director Euchre?
Yes.
Vice Chairman DeGraff?
Yes.
Chairman Parks?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right,
Yes.
and then we will move on to the consent calendar.
Move that we approve this consent calendar as presented.
So we've got a mover and we've got a second.
Roll call vote. Director Zuber? Director Restusha?
Yes.
Director Euchre?
Yes.
Chairman DeGraff? Chairman Parks?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
And with that, we will close the redevelopment successor agency. So, all right, thank you everybody for attending. So, Leo, it's been fun.
I know.
Ciao.
Mr. Mayor.
He almost got it right this time.
Close enough, close enough.
Got the city right.
98% still counts.
Did a lot better job.
It only took an extra half an hour. That's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. You did, what